So values-based leadership is a very simple definition. It's living, working, and leading in alignment with your own core values to ignite extraordinary potential in those around you. And so we all have the ability to tap into it when we identify our own core values, those things that really drive us. We can tap into it and we can choose to be that values-based leader. It's really paying attention to kind of what our emotions are, what we kind of get triggered with. That's a lot of times a way that we can tell what our core values are. And the more we're self-aware of what our own are, then the more we can pay attention to what others' values might be. And when we recognize our own and others, that can be an amazing superhero power. So there's personal core values, and then there's also organizational values. Like, do organizations have a value that their organizations lead with? Yeah, so for an organization to either focus on, identify, or even start from scratch in their organizational core values, one of the first places to start is kind of, what does our culture look like all day, every day? Because an organization has values, even if they're not written out. They're shadow values, right? I mean, these kind of norms that happen in organizations. So one of the first things I recommend is just talking about, what does our culture look like? And then from those conversations, we can really kind of hone into, okay, what are we seeing here? Are we seeing that, in this culture, like, collaboration is really important, and that may be identified as a value. One of the things that we always recommend that really helps people kind of hone in is, let's talk about what that looks like in action and what's the definition. So if an organization just has a value of collaboration, for example, and they don't continue to define what that looks like and what the behaviors look like, you might interpret it one way and I might interpret it another way. And so we really encourage organizations to really define, like, what does that look like? What does it look like in action? So I know at luck companies, for example, one of their values is creativity, and one of the behaviors is to explore and experiment. And so really kind of defining, what does that mean, so that it really gets below the surface than just that one word, just identifying what that value might be. So we can be an inclusive leader when we recognize, what do other people value, like what's important to them. And we can recognize that by raising our antenna around listening to what they speak about, what they care about, what they're passionate about, and raising that antenna to what they are telling us really helps us pick up on what's important to them. And when we know what's important to them, we can adapt to what they need. And so we can be inclusive. We, can be in a space where we're opening up to where everybody belongs, when we're adapting our style to what people need from us. So yes, we're for 3 tips, but I would say that would be the biggest one, is how are we recognizing what others value, what is important to them, what are they passionate about? So that would be one. Another one would be, where are we really listening to someone else's perspective? I wrote a blog, I don't know, a few months ago, and it was titled, Where You Stand is based on where you sit. And it's so important to listen to all different perspectives, to really hear what other people are experiencing, so we know where we stand on things. Because if we're just looking at things in a vacuum and not, including a bunch of different perspectives, then it is hard to know where we stand. And then one other tip I would say is, really take a look at, we'll say sometimes around InnerWill, like, how diverse is your universe? Really looking at, are we being intentional around reading about the different thought perspectives, listening to different people, seeking out different things that we may not, normally do. Where are we being intentional around that? So I would say those are 3 things that I really try to focus on.